racing dreams of breeding a champion. We've ventured to the beautiful Hunter Valley and John and Kristen Rudder's Wicklow farm to find out about their journey so far in the sport of harness racing and how they're about to reach the pinnacle on September 7 in the world's richest harness race, the Tab Eureka, when Captain's Knock represents them, Brad Hewitt and the Cordina Racing slot. Well, John, take us back to the start of your harness racing journey. What's your first memory of the sport?
I was out on a Saturday night at Newcastle Trots, Britt, and I ran into a friend of mine there, and we were watching the races, and he said, come and watch this race, there's a really good horse in it. It's won 20 races straight. That horse was Shaker Maker. Watched the race and I was instantly hooked. Came from last, went round the field, exciting. Haven't looked back.
So in my family, we all did go to the trots to just have a night out. My mum's family, there were people back in her family that had trotters. So yeah, it was just something that we enjoyed doing.
As soon as we bought the property, we moved from East Maitland out here to Duns Creek. We bought a farm, 27 acres. And I think within 6 weeks I'd bought a mare in fold. So part of that dream was to have a property and have horses. So as soon as we got the opportunity, I was straight in, bought the mare out of the trot guide, and yeah, started from there.
Do you remember the conversation between yourself and John when you decided you were going to breed a horse? Was it a flash of the pan moment? Was it something that sort of, I guess, developed over time?
It was always on his wish list to breed the horses, and I love horses. So it didn't matter if he told me he wanted to breed, you know, like Shetland ponies. I would have been into it. So he knew all the breeding, he knew all the background. So once we moved out here, he had a horse lined up pretty much to come out, and Hoop was lovely. She was a really patient mare. She taught us so much. But yeah, so wasn't really a slow build. It was pretty firmly front and centre for John. Yeah.
Breeding side of the business, why did that take your interest, do you think, as opposed to the racing as such?
I love the racing. I suppose because we had the paddock, breeding wasn't out of reach. The racing side of things gets pretty expensive, so we thought we'd start off breeding one and see what happens. We ended up racing the first horse we bred unsuccessfully, but yeah, just you know, we sort of just wanted some level of involvement.
Success levels early on? No.
No success. We had a lot of bad luck actually. The first year equine influenza come into Australia, our mare got it the week before foaling, so that was hard. We bred our first foal. We were over anxious parents, you know, we were fussing and bothering over everything that we didn't need to, but it was just fun, and we had the kids got to see the foals, so it was just a lovely way to, you know, have the farm.
So let's fast forward a little way, and you've bred a couple. Let's go back to the start of the Captain's Knock story, and where did that all begin from your perspective? Yeah,
we'd bred 4 fillies to 1 mare without success, and I just wanted to breed a winner, to be honest. I saw a mare on the trading ring. She'd had 4 foals, she'd missed a couple of times, she'd slipped a foal, and she'd had a couple of decent winners. She had a track record holder in Tassie, and I thought, if I can't breed a winner out of this mare, I'll give up. And so ended up buying her. She was from a family that I loved, the El Sue family. She actually looked a little like El Sue. So did some research. Captain Treacherous progeny started to race in America. They were really doing well, and I jumped on, I suppose, just before they started to hit their straps here. And we bred Captain's Knock, and he was the first colt. So 5th foal, first colt out of the new mare, and we've been really lucky to have a bit of success.
What were expectation levels, and tell us a little bit about her and her attitude?
Oh look, she's a quirky mare. The day I bought her, she arrived off the float, and the horse transporter said to me, this thing's a nightmare. It took me an hour and a half to catch her. I almost gave up. I just put her in the holding yard, gave her a brush, and when I let her off, she ran straight through the fence, through a 6x2 piece of timber, went bucking down the paddock, and I thought, what have I done? So yeah, it was a funny introduction. She's a very quirky mare. She's a very dominant mare. You can't catch her in a paddock. You've got to catch her. Once you've caught her, she's easy to handle. But yeah, she's very intelligent. She watches everything. Just a smart mare.
So you decide on the mating to captain Treacherous, and the resultant foal's a colt. Do you remember the circumstances around his birth? Because you do foal them all down here.
Yeah,
what were your earliest memories of him?
Look, he was born down in the paddock. We hopped up and there he was with his mum. He was a little bit, wayward, coming out. He was quite a big foal. And, early on we had some concerns. He was standing on his pasterns for the first day. 2 days later, he's run around the paddock, like a normal foal. Couldn't get near the mare for a week. So I don't even know if we knew if it was a colt in the first day, because the mare's so protective. But after a couple of days, she'd come up for a feed and we could handle her, and the rest is history.
So Smokey arrives. Do you remember the arrival?
Yeah, no. I was actually at work and John rang and said, oh my gosh, this foal's arrived, and he was a little bit loose in the pasterns, and he's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is going to be okay. And then, 2 days later, he's just running around the paddock. So, he came to us in drought. So the paddocks were bare. Smoke was in the sky, so he was called Smokey. That's his baby name. And he was just a lovely little foal.
Speaking to John, we heard about your challenges there not long after. Was it a nice outlet for you to have to come out and be around the horses? Definitely.
So with Smoke, we had drought, bushfire, COVID, and we had all of us here for COVID. And then in August, the cancer diagnosis, which come out of the blue, was a real shock. Unexpected, relatively young at 45 to get diagnosed with breast cancer. So being able to come out, horses, if you love horses, you know what it's like. You're just the smell of horses, just being around them is reassuring and relaxing. So yeah, he was great during that time.
So it's certainly going to be a dream come true on September 7 for John and Kristen Rudder when Captain's Knock lines up in the world's richest harness race. We just learned a little bit more about them, their story, and I guess the journey so far for Captain's Knock. And he's going to line up in the Cordina Racing slot for Brad Hewitt. They'd bred 4 prior foals and didn't have a lot of success. In fact, weren't able to breed a winner, and now they've bred this 2-time Group 1 winning son of Captain Treacherous, who's going to not only represent them, but a whole group of people in this tab Eureka. And it was great to sit down with them. And we're going to bring you part 2 of that story next week to learn a little bit more about their excitement and what the lead up to September 7 looks like for them, Lewis. So I love going behind the scenes and learning a little bit more about these superstar horses of our sport. And we went all the way back to the start of the journey with Captain's Knock there. Still plenty more to come. We're going to take a quick break here as a part of On the Pace. And on the other side, Michael Guerin's going to join us once again. He's going to bring us up to speed with all that's happening across the ditch.